through a grant from the Magic Johnson Foundation to recruit and train HIV-positive speakers. So now I'm back at work.
Very good. Now, Ms. Wood, how typical is the story that he just gave us in reference to his illness and his family's reaction to that illness? How typical is that of some of the persons that you're involved with at Nashville Cares?
There really is no typical case because every person their journey is so different and so individual. But a part that is typical is the fact that he had it for a year before he could tell someone. It's very difficult to know who to tell, whether to tell your employer, whether to tell your best friend, to tell your minister, because with this disease comes a rejection that we haven't really seen since the days of the lepers. So it's very hard to know who you can trust. So that year that he spent trying to figure that out is very typical. I wish that every family took the same route that his mama took, because we have many of our clients whose parents, whose grandparents, whose brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles have all rejected them. We also have others just like Don's where they didn't reject them. And we have many that go on disability and then somehow can come back around, which is exciting. I know that we at CARES are just really excited that Don has joined our staff and is bringing a new dimension to us.
I think earlier we talked about some of the programs that have been devised to help with this disease. I think you know quite recently the President's Commission on AIDS gave a report that the American people are not doing enough in reference to this disease. Let's talk about that for a few minutes and then we'll talk about Mr. Dobbins' family's reaction, but let's talk about that in order to get that information.
Well, the Presidential Commission's been in place for 4 years or more. One of the tragic things is that no one listened to that commission. They've made one recommendation after another. The recommendations were good, and the former administration chose never to really mention the word HIV or AIDS. The commission is now through, and I hope that eventually that those recommendations will come off of the shelf and be acted upon. We have had a lot of money that has gone to HIV research, and I want to stress on the front end that anything that's been done for HIV research has also helped with cancer, heart disease, and other diseases of the immune system. But there's been very little money that has come for direct care and assistance, and that's tragic. Also, our education dollars, the prevention education grants that we've received through the CDC have been cut. The amount of dollars going to prevention education are going down each year. That's tragic because it's only through education that we're going to prevent this disease. And it's a disease that affects our young people. Many of them are in their 20s as they're diagnosed, which means that they got this disease as teenagers. So we need to make sure that we get that prevention message out there.
Very good. Now, Mr. Dobbins, let's talk about your family's reaction to your disease, because I think that this, again, is a very, very important question. Not necessarily with your family, but I think that as a person with the disease, you have an opportunity to come in contact with other persons with the disease, and you can perhaps give us certainly at least a second-hand report in terms of how they have been received, how that information has been received by their families. Let's talk about family reactions to this disease this morning.
Sherry's right. I was very fortunate. I had been home 6 weeks before I told my family. And at first, everyone in my family accepted it well. Part of the reason I wasn't telling was that my 3-year-old niece was also living in the house at the time. And I was afraid that they might not understand and be afraid for me to be around her. But I finally overcame that and told them they accepted it. Later, my stepfather, my mother had remarried while I had been away, had difficulties accepting it, and so I moved out of the house. But he was the only one who had any real problem. Generally speaking, when folks come back home, for many, especially gay men, many times they're telling their families 2 things. They're telling them not only do I have this illness that eventually may take my life, but I'm also gay. So a lot of families have 2 things to deal with. That was not my situation. But it's very difficult for families to accept that, and so many people suffer in silence. And I know from my year of doing that, that oftentimes the silence is more deadly than the virus. We have medications that can help us deal with the illness. We don't have any that help us deal with the silence.
There's a psychological impact that this has upon persons with AIDS, is that correct?
Absolutely, yes.
We run support groups at NASHVILLECARES so that people can understand that there are others that are in the same boat that they're in. And we've tried to tailor them to the needs. We have groups that are primarily gay men. We have groups that are heterosexual couples. We have a women's group. We'll be having an African American group, an AA group, so that you can find people with like interest and like challenges. And you do learn that, gosh, he looks great, he's doing well, I can do that too. On Friday nights, we have a family group so that our family members can have other people to support them as they walk through this with their family member. Grandmamas are taking care of grandmamas, aunts and uncles, and just good friends, so that everyone can hopefully deal with this a little bit better.
Now, are we saying that